Tonight I want you to take hold of one single truth that will change the way you walk through life. You are the best, and no one is better than you. I am not speaking of arrogance, not of pride in the world's sense, but of the deep knowing that all men spring from the same source, the same God, the same imagination. If God is in you, if life itself breathes through you, how could another be greater than you? The world has trained you to look up to others, to bow before titles, to shrink before wealth, and to worship status. Yet the truth I tell you is this: there is no one above you, and there is no one below you. The very power that shaped the universe is the same power within your own consciousness. When you act as if you are the best, you are not pretending, you are remembering who you truly are. When's the foundation of inner greatness? When I speak of being the best, I am not calling you to measure yourself against another man. I am not telling you to outshine your neighbor, to compete with your brother, or to look down upon those around you. No, I speak of something far deeper. I speak of the recognition of your own foundation, the source from which your very being springs. For until you know your foundation, you will always feel unsteady, as though life can topple you with the slightest wind. The foundation of inner greatness is this simple truth: you are one with God. There is no separation. The same creative spirit that imagined the world, the same life that brought the stars into being, beats in you this very moment. It is not apart from you waiting in the heavens. It is here, in your awareness, in your imagination. And because it is in you, you can never be less than the best. But the tragedy is this: man forgets his foundation. He bows to the image of power outside of himself. He looks at kings and rulers, at men with wealth and titles, and says within, they are greater than I. He looks at saints and sages, and says they are holier than I. And by that act of comparison, he denies the truth of his own being. He builds his house upon sand, and when the storm comes, he is shaken. I tell you tonight, build your house upon the rock. Build it upon the truth that there is no man greater than the God who lives in you. When you claim this foundation, when you stand on it firmly, no voice of the world can shake you. They may call you small, but you will know yourself vast. They may call you unworthy, but you will know yourself chosen. They may pass you by, but life itself will move circumstances to honor the one who honors himself. The foundation of inner greatness is not learned in books, nor given by the applause of men. It comes by revelation. It comes when you dare to look within and say, that is the great confession. That is the secret behind every transformation. Not that you wait for God to descend upon you, but that you recognize God already is you. Now let me be clear. When I say act as you are the best, I do not mean arrogance. I do not mean boastfulness. I do not mean strutting about to prove yourself to the world. The best does not need to prove itself. The best simply is. The flower does not shout to the forest, look at me, I am the fairest. It blooms silently, and by its very being, it commands the eye. So too with you, the one who knows his foundation does not shout. He simply walks, and men turn their heads. You have been trained to doubt yourself. From childhood, voices told you that you were not enough, that others were brighter, stronger, more worthy. You were told to wait your turn, to work harder, to strive endlessly, and perhaps if luck favored you, you might achieve something. But I tell you, your greatness is not waiting in the future. It is in you now. Your task is not to become it, but to awaken to it. And how do you awaken? By assumption. By daring to believe even now that you are what the world calls impossible. When you walk into a room, do not ask silently, am I worthy to be here? Say instead within yourself, I am the foundation of this very moment. Without me, this moment could not exist. That is no vanity. It is truth. For the world exists only as you perceive it. Remove your consciousness, and there is no world. So how could you be less than the best, when the very stage of existence depends on you? This is the foundation I ask you to build upon. That life itself flows from you, not to you. When you accept this, fear dissolves. Fear is born of separation. Fear whispers, what if life does not favor me? What if others outshine me? What if I am forgotten? But when you know the truth, fear loses its power, for you realize there is no other to outshine you, no other to surpass you, for all is one life, and that life is yours. Do you see now? To act as the best is to act in harmony with reality. To shrink, to bow, To worship another is to live in illusion. You dishonor yourself when you place another above you, and in so doing, you dishonor the God who lives in you. The man who says, I am nothing, is a liar, for no man born of God can be nothing. Every man is the seed of greatness, but only the one who claims it, sees it flower. Think of the oak tree and the acorn. Does the acorn beg the soil, please make me strong, make me mighty, make me tall? No, it carries within itself the blueprint of the oak. It simply rests in its nature, and in time the mighty tree stands where once there was only a seed. You too carry within you the pattern of greatness. It is not to be begged for. It is to be assumed, claimed, lived. And so I say to you, drop the mask of inferiority. Tear down the false idols you have built in your mind. No celebrity, no leader, no so-called giant of industry is greater than you. They are only men who dared to assume their own foundation. They imagined themselves greater, and so they became it. The same power is in you. Act from it. The world will try to test your foundation. Circumstances will rise to shake you. You may lose money, lose friends, lose opportunities, and the voice of fear will say, see, you are nothing. But if your foundation is firm, you will not move. You will say within, I am still the best, for nothing can lessen God in me. And soon the outer world must bend, must rearrange itself, to reflect your unshaken inner truth. This is the first step. Before you take on riches, before you take on success, before you take on recognition, take on this foundation. I and my Father are one. I am the best, and no one is greater than the God who lives in me. If you plant this truth in the soil of your mind and water it with daily assumption, it will grow into unshakable confidence. And from that confidence will flow every outer success. So tonight, remember this: greatness is not something to chase. It is your foundation. Build upon it. Stand upon it. Live from it. And when the world looks at you, it will see not a man striving, but a man who already is. 2. The illusion of comparison. Why is it that man feels small? Why does he bow before another? Why does he live in secret envy, wishing he had what someone else possesses? It is because he has fallen into the trap of comparison. He has believed the lie that another is above him, that another has something he cannot reach, that life has chosen some to be great and others to be low. This is the greatest illusion, the illusion of comparison. You have been trained since childhood to measure yourself against others. You were told to look at the child who scored higher, and you were made to feel less. You were told to admire the one with beauty, with talent, with charm, and you quietly decided you were ordinary. You were told to see the one who succeeded in business, who built an empire, who rose to fame, and you whispered to yourself, that is beyond me. But I tell you, all such comparison is false. It is a shadow play, a game of the mind, and it blinds you to the truth of who you are. For when you compare, you deny the source, and the source is not divided. There are not many gods, one for the rich and one for the poor, one for the genius and one for the simple. There is but one life, one imagination, one God. That life is in you as fully as it is in the man you envy. That imagination that created worlds is in you as surely as it is in the artist, the poet, the inventor. That God who sustains all is in you as certainly as he is in the greatest of saints. So tell me, how can another be greater? You see a man with riches and you call him great. But where did those riches begin? Not in his bank, not in his business, not in his possessions. They began in his mind. He dared to imagine wealth, he dared to feel it, and he dared to act from it. The riches you see are nothing but the shadow of his inner assumption, and the same shadow could be cast in your life, if only you assumed the same. So why compare? If the root of his success is imagination, and imagination is yours as much as his, then what difference lies between you? You see a woman with beauty and you call her blessed. But beauty is not in the features of the face. It is in the confidence of the soul. Have you not seen those who, by the world's measure, are plain? Yet when they walk into the room, every head turns. That is not the structure of bone or flesh, that is the radiance of being. She assumed herself beautiful. She acted from beauty. She lived in beauty, and the world confirmed it. That same beauty is in you, waiting to be claimed. So why compare? You see another with influence, with power, with recognition, and you bow. But what is influence? It is simply the outpouring of inner belief. The world listens to the one who first listened to himself. Power is not granted. It is assumed. Recognition is not given. It is claimed. If you believe you are the least, the world will confirm. If you believe you are the best, the world will echo it. So tell me, who is greater? The man with power, or the man who knows the source of power is in himself? The illusion of comparison keeps men in chains. It says you must climb slowly, step by step. And perhaps one day you will be worthy, but worth is not earned. Worth is inherent. You are born with it, for you are born of God. The child of a king does not earn his right to the throne. It is his by birth. So too with you. You need not compare, for what you seek in another is already planted in yourself. When you compare, you betray yourself. You say silently, I am less. And as you say it, so it becomes. For life always reflects your assumption. But when you refuse comparison, when you stand firm in your inner knowing and say, I am complete, I am enough, I am the best, for God dwells in me, then the outer world has no choice but to reflect that truth. Let me show you how this works. Suppose you admire a man for his wisdom. You say, he is brilliant, and I am not. At that very moment you have locked yourself in the prison of comparison. You have given away your crown and bowed to another. But if you change the inner dialogue, if you say the same source of wisdom that flows through him, flows through me, I am as wise. For I and he spring from the same imagination. Then you have reclaimed your birthright. You are no longer beneath him, but equal, even greater. For you have recognized the source. This is not to deny the greatness of others. No, this is to recognize that their greatness is not foreign, not unattainable, but a mirror of your own potential. Admire, yes, but never bow. Celebrate, yes, but never diminish yourself. For to diminish yourself is to diminish God. When you live free of comparison, something extraordinary happens. You begin to walk in your own light. You no longer chase another's path. You no longer covet another's gifts. You no longer live in envy. You realize that what is yours cannot be taken, and what is theirs cannot lessen you. You realize that life is not a race, but a revelation, that each man reveals God in his own way. And when you know this, you act with confidence, with peace, with quiet strength. Think of the sun. Shines without measure. Does it compare itself to the stars? Does it envy the moon? No. It simply shines. And by shining it fulfills its nature. So too with you. You were not made to compare. You were made to express. The oak tree does not look at the pine and say, I am less. The rose does not look at the lily and say, I am inferior. Each reveals its own beauty, its own strength, its own truth. And you too must reveal yours, without comparison. Now hear me. The world thrives on comparison. It sells you images. It parades before you endless measures of worth to keep you enslaved. But you need not buy into the illusion. You need only remember, what you see in another is possible for you. What you admire in another is already within you. Comparison is a lie, but recognition is the truth. So tonight, I ask you to cast aside the scales by which you have measured yourself. Stop asking, am I as good as him? Am I as beautiful as her? Am I as successful as they are? Instead declare, I am the best, for God is in me, and no one is greater than the God who lives in me. Live from that truth, and you will never envy another again. The illusion of comparison falls away the moment you remember who you are. And when it falls, you stand tall, not above others, not beneath them, but in your rightful place as the image of God. You do not shrink. You do not boast. You simply are. And in that being, you find peace. And in that peace, you find power. 3. The act of assuming the highest. If you wish to rise above your present state, if you wish to walk as the best, then you must learn the great secret, the act of assumption. Nothing in this world comes to man by accident. Every event, every condition, every circumstance is born first in imagination, and then it appears in form. Life is not something happening to you. Life is something responding to you. And what does it respond to? Your assumption. To assume the highest is to claim inwardly what outwardly is not yet visible. It is to wear in the silence of your mind the garment of the one you long to be. It is to say within yourself, I am already the man I dream of. I am already the woman I desire to become. And though the senses deny it, though reason mocks it, though the world says impossible, you persist until the assumption hardens into fact. Now many of you have tried and failed because you waited for the world to confirm your assumption before you dared to live in it. You said, when I have the money, then I will feel wealthy. When I am loved, then I will feel lovable. When I succeed, then I will feel powerful. But you have reversed the law. The world does not give first, it only reflects. You must feel wealthy before the money comes. You must feel lovable before the love arrives. You must feel powerful before the success unfolds. To assume the highest is to act as though it is already yours, and in acting, you call it into being. Consider the actor upon the stage. He puts on a costume, he speaks the lines, he enters into the role. For those hours, he does not merely pretend. He becomes, and the audience, seeing his conviction, believes it real. You too are actors upon the stage of life. But unlike the theater, here the act does not remain a play. Here the act becomes reality. What you dare to assume inwardly, you become outwardly. Do not mistake me. This is not idle daydreaming. This is not a fleeting wish, here today and gone tomorrow. This is disciplined imagination, controlled attention, sustained faith. It is the art of feeling the reality of the wish fulfilled, until it saturates your mind and body. When you assume the highest, you no longer ask, when will it come? You know it has already come, though unseen, and that knowing is the power that draws it forth. Let me give you an example. A man without work, desperate for income, sits in despair. He says, I cannot assume I am employed when I am not. I cannot feel secure when I am hungry. But what happens when he continues in this state? He sinks deeper into lack, and the world mirrors it back. But if he dares just for a moment to close his eyes, to silence the voice of reason, and to imagine himself writing a paycheck, shaking hands with an employer, speaking confidently in his role, then for that moment he has shifted states. He has assumed the high, and if he persists, that invisible state will clothe itself in visible form. The law is simple. What you occupy within, you express without. If you occupy fear, you will express failure. If you occupy doubt, you will express limitation. But if you occupy confidence, if you occupy wealth, if you occupy love, then the world must reflect it. For the outer world is nothing but your assumption, objectified. So I ask you, what do you dare to assume? Many of you assume small things. You say, perhaps I can improve slightly, perhaps I can do a little better. Perhaps one day I will have enough. But that is not the act of assuming the highest. That is the act of settling for crumbs when the feast is before you. Why not assume the best? Why not declare within, I am the greatest in my field, I am the best at what I do. I am the most radiant, the most confident, the most powerful version of myself. Do you fear arrogance? Let me remind you, arrogance is boasting of what you do not believe. Assumption is resting in the truth of what already is. When you assume the highest, you do not struggle. You do not strive. You simply live from the end. Imagine you desire to be wealthy. What would you do tonight if you already were? Would you sit in worry, counting pennies, fearing tomorrow? Or would you rest, knowing all your needs are met? That rest, that ease, that quiet confidence, that is the act of assumption. Live in it now, and the riches must follow. Or suppose you desire love. What would you feel if you were already cherished, already adored, already desired above all? Would you chase? Would you beg? Would you doubt your worth? No, you would walk with dignity, speak with joy, radiate peace. That feeling is the assumption. Live in it now, and love must come. This is the key to life. Assume the highest in every moment. When fear arises, assume courage. When doubt whispers, assume faith. When lack surrounds you, assume abundance. When the world says, you are nothing, assume I am the best. For God lives in me, and soon the world itself will forget its words and bow to your inner conviction. Some of you may say, but I cannot sustain it. The world shouts too loudly, my senses deny it. Then I say, persist, return again and again to the assumption. Water it daily with imagination. When the outer world contradicts you, do not fight it. Ignore it. Close your eyes and turn within. For what you do in imagination is far greater than what you see with the senses. The senses show you the past. Imagination reveals the future. The senses display what has been. Imagination calls forth what shall be. Choose this day which master you will serve. And remember this, assumption is not merely thought, it is feeling. To assume the highest is not to say with lips, I am wealthy, while feeling poor. It is not to say I am loved, while feeling lonely. It is not to say I am the best, while feeling inferior. The words are nothing without the feeling. But once you feel it real, even for a moment, you have planted the seed. And if you guard that seed, it will grow. So tonight I urge you, drop the small assumptions that keep you bound. Stop saying, I am trying, I am hoping, I am waiting. Instead, assume boldly. Say, I am already there. I am already the best. I am already what I long to be. Live from the end and let the end manifest itself. This is the law tested and proven through the ages. What you assume you become. What you dare to claim inwardly, you will see outward. And when you assume the highest, you rise to the level of your true self, the God within. So walk as though you are already crowned. Speak as though you are already chosen. Live as though you are already the best. For the world is nothing but the stage upon which your assumption plays itself out. Choose the highest role and play it well, and soon the curtain will rise, and all will see you as you have already seen yourself. So the best is a state of consciousness. When I tell you to act as though you are the best, I do not speak of outer things. I am not speaking of money in the bank, titles behind your name, or applause from the crowd. Those are shadows. They are the fruit, not the root. What I am pointing you to is the inner reality, the state of consciousness from which all outer things spring. For the truth is this: the best is not a condition of the outer world. It is a state of consciousness. You may see a man dressed in fine clothes, driving the finest car, living in the largest house, and yet within he feels inferior, unworthy, afraid. He may wear the garments of success, but his state betrays him. Strip away the possessions, and his fear remains. Another man may have little, but within he knows himself to be the best. He walks with quiet dignity, speaks with assurance, radiates confidence, and though the world calls him poor, he is rich in the only way that matters. For his state of consciousness will, in time, shape the outer world to match it. Everything begins and ends in consciousness. You cannot escape it. You cannot bypass it. To be the best, you must occupy the state of being the best. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances change. Not when others approve. Now. Right now, in the silence of your inner self, you must claim it. For the world only echoes what you are within. Let me tell you, consciousness is not a vague thing. It is not abstract, floating in the air. It is precise. It is exact. It is felt. When you enter a state of consciousness, it clothes itself upon you like a garment. You think differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You radiate an atmosphere that others cannot deny. If you occupy the state of the best, men and women will sense it without a word spoken. Doors will open. Opportunities will appear. Not because you beg for them, but because the world must mirror your inner state. But here is the problem. Most men live in the wrong state. They occupy lack and wonder why they see poverty. They occupy fear and wonder why life denies them courage. They occupy inferiority and wonder why the world tramples them. They look outward, blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming fate. But the cause is not without, it is within. They are clothed in the wrong state. You are told in Scripture to put on the Lord Jesus Christ. What does that mean? It means to put on the state of consciousness that knows itself one with God. It means to wear the feeling of being chosen, favored, powerful, complete. To put it on as naturally as you put on your coat in the morning. And when you wear it long enough, you forget the old garments of doubt and fear, and you begin to live as the new man. So I ask you, what state do you occupy tonight? Do you walk as one who is less than others, or as one who knows he is the best? Do you carry yourself with the heaviness of defeat, or the lightness of victory? Do you speak as one who begs, or as one who commands? Do not fool yourself. You may say with your lips, I am the best, but the state you occupy will always reveal the truth. Now, how do you enter the state of the best? You enter by imagination and feeling. You close your eyes to the outer world, and you dare to see yourself as you desire to be. You picture the scene that would follow if you were already the best. You hear the words spoken to you, feel the atmosphere around you. and then you let that scene saturate your mind until it feels real. That feeling is the doorway. Once you feel it, you have stepped into the state, and once in the state, remain there. Return to it again and again, until it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses. Do not underestimate the power of this. The world may mock it, calling it foolish. They will tell you that reality is fixed, that facts cannot change, that you must accept things as they are. But I tell you, things as they are only things as they were imagined. Change your state, and you change your world. The one who dares to assume the state of the best will in time stand before men as the best. It cannot fail, for consciousness alone is causative. Think of the musician before he is known. In his small room, before any man hears his song, he must first occupy the state of being great. He must hear within himself the applause, the recognition, the impact of his music. If he waits for the world to give it to him first, he will never know it. But if he occupies the state now before a note is heard, then the world will in time echo back what he has already lived within. Think of the woman who desires to rise in her field. If she looks at others and says, "They are greater than I," she will forever remain small. But if she closes her eyes and assumes the state of the best, the leader, the authority, the admired one, then her words, her actions, her very presence will shift, and soon others will sense her greatness, for she has already clothed herself in it inwardly. You see, it is not about competing with others. It is not about proving yourself. It is about entering the state of consciousness where you already are all you desire to be. That state is your true identity, your divine inheritance. Everything else is illusion. Now I must warn you, the old state will try to return. Doubt will whisper, "You are pretending." The senses will cry, "It is not real." Circumstances will rise to contradict you. Do not be swayed. The old state has no power unless you give it power. Persist in the new state. When the doubt comes, return to the feeling. When the senses deny, ignore them. When the world resists, stand firm. For persistence is the secret. What you persist in imagining and feeling, you must eventually express. And let me tell you, once you occupy the state of the best, you will never again settle for less. You will never again bow to another, never again envy another, never again diminish yourself, for you will know with unshakable certainty that all greatness flows from within, and within you it already is. So tonight, put away the old garments, cast off the state of fear, the state of doubt, the state of inferiority. Put on the garment of the best, wear it boldly, walk in it daily, speak from it, act from it, live from it, and soon the world will clothe you in the very things you have assumed within. Remember this. The best is not something you become, it is something you recognize. It is a state of consciousness already available, waiting for you to step into. Enter it now, and live as though it were true, and you will find that it is. 5. The secret of living from the end. My friends, let us go deeper into the mystery of living as though you already are the best, already the one no one surpasses. This is not arrogance, this is spiritual alignment. For the source that created you did not create mediocrity. The source did not send you into this world to be less, to be overshadowed, to be trampled upon. The source breathed its own breath into you and clothed you in flesh. But within you remains the eternal truth. You are equal to the greatness of life itself. And the way you bring this truth into your experience is by living from the end. What do I mean by living from the end? I mean this. You do not wait for the evidence in the world to tell you who you are. You declare who you are in the unseen, and you walk as though it were already visible. You take the finished picture of yourself, the picture of yourself as the best, the brightest, the most accomplished, and you inhabit it now. Not tomorrow, not next year, but this very moment. The tragedy for most is that they live in the middle, not the end. They look at their circumstances, they see the lack, the failure, the limitation, and they say, "This is who I am." But that is a lie. The circumstance is not the truth. It is only the shadow of past assumptions. What you see around you now is yesterday's belief, hardened into fact. But you, here and now, have the power to step into the end, the glorious end where you already stand as the best, and let that end call the future into being. Imagine with me for a moment. Imagine the end of your story. Imagine the people looking at you with admiration. Imagine the recognition, the respect, the honor that flows towards you. Imagine yourself carrying the poise of one who knows no rival, not in competition, but in certainty. Not as though you are better than another, but as though no one has the power to diminish you. For you stand in your God-given greatness. Now take that feeling and wear it. Do not wait for it. Wear it now. Living from the end is not a game of pretending. It is the law of creation. Every event you see today was once an end lived in imagination. Someone dared to imagine it finished, and by living in that end they called it into form. The skyscraper was once the end in the mind of an architect. The music you hear was once the end in the heart of a composer. The invention you hold in your hand was once the end lived in the imagination of a dreamer. They did not wait for evidence, they dwelt in the end until the evidence bowed to them. So I tell you tonight, if you would truly act as the best, you must not wait for proof. You must walk now in the unseen, and your unseen walk will carve the path for the seen. If you believe you are second, you will forever remain in the shadow of another. But if you live from the end where you are first in your field, first in your world, first in your consciousness, life itself must rearrange to reflect it. Do you recall the words, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not waiting. Faith is not hoping in despair. Faith is possession in imagination. When you live from the end, you possess already what the world has not yet seen. That is faith. And faith never fails. Now let me tell you why many struggle with this. They attempt to live toward the end instead of from it. They say, one day I will be successful. One day I will be the best. And so the day never comes. For the law only mirrors your present assumption. When you say one day, the law says yes, one day but not today. But when you say I am, the law says yes, you are. And the world bends to your word. Take this law into the secret chambers of your mind tonight. Close your eyes and see yourself already at the end. Hear the words others would speak if you were the best. Feel the joy, the pride, the quiet confidence of accomplishment. And then, when you rise from that chair, do not leave it behind. Carry it with you as your new garment. That garment is your true identity. And the world cannot help but see you clothed in. The truth, my friends, is that no one is better than you. Not because you are above them, but because in the divine order there is no comparison. Each of us is an expression of the One, and the One does not create inferiority. When you live from the end, you stop measuring yourself against others. You no longer ask, am I as good as they are? Instead, you declare, I am what I am, and what I am is magnificent. Think of the artist who paints not to rival another, but to release the beauty that is within. Think of the athlete who runs not to prove superiority, but because the joy of running burns in their being. When you live from the end, you live from that joy. You express the fullness of yourself without fear, without comparison, without hesitation. And that fullness shines so brightly that others cannot help but see you as the best. So tonight I urge you, stop asking, stop hoping, stop waiting. Take the end and live in it. Do not act as though it might be yours someday. Act as though it is yours now. For in truth it already is. Every desire you have is a preview of what is already written within you. Your longing to be the best is not fantasy. It is memory of what already exists in the unseen. Live from that memory. Walk in that end. And soon you will find the world echoing back to you the song you have been singing in silence. The applause will come, the recognition will come, the evidence will come, but by then you will already know. For you have been living in it all along. That, my friends, is the secret of living from the end. And once you master this, you will never again bow to circumstance. You will stand upright in your divine authority, knowing that you are the best, and that no one is better than you. Not in pride, but in truth. Not in arrogance, but in faith. For you are what you dare to assume, and what you dare to assume you will inevitably become. 6. The inner voice that shapes your world. My friends, let us now turn to the voice that speaks within you. For while the outer world seems loud, commanding, filled with noise and demands, it is not the outer voice that shapes your destiny. It is the quiet inner whisper, the conversation you hold with yourself in the secret place of the mind. This is the hidden architect of your fate. This is the law at work, more powerful than any circumstance, more decisive than any condition you face. You may ask, why is it that I do all I can outwardly and still find myself defeated? Why is it that my effort, my labor, my struggle seems to yield so little? And I tell you, it is not your effort that determines your result, but the inner words spoken in silence. You may toil day and night, but if your inner speech contradicts your desire, your labor is wasted. You will always return to the place your inner voice has fixed for you. If within you the voice whispers, I am not enough, I will never be the best, others are greater than I am, then no matter how hard you try, life will mirror back that confession. You will meet doors that close, people that reject, circumstances that press against you, for they are all answering the law of your inner assumption. The outer must obey the inner. It is not a matter of chance. It is law. But hear this, when you change that inner word, when you dare to speak differently to yourself, the whole of creation shifts, for the world is only echo. You may think you hear the world speaking first, but in truth, the world is repeating to you what you have whispered in the depths of your being. Let us take an example. Consider the one who walks into a room with head bowed, voice uncertain, inner dialogue saying, "No one respects me, I am overlooked. I am less." The people in that room cannot help but mirror back to him his own voice. They ignore him, dismiss him, or treat him as unimportant, not because they are cruel, but because they are compelled to act in harmony with his assumption. Now take another. This one walks into the same room, but within he has already spoken the truth. I am worthy, I am seen, I am the best expression of life in this moment. His inner voice is steady, unshaken, filled with quiet certainty, and the people in that room, without knowing why, find themselves drawn to him, listening to him, honoring him, again not because they chose, but because the law compelled them to echo his inner word. So I say to you tonight, if you wish to rise, if you wish to be the best and live in the dignity of your own greatness, attend first to the voice within, for it is the root, and the outer is only fruit. This is the mystery of inner talking. It never rests. Even as you sit here, your mind is carrying on its conversation. It tells you what you can and cannot do. It tells you what belongs to you and what is beyond your reach. It tells you who you are, and unless you deliberately change it, it will continue to dictate your life without your consent. The secret is to become master of that voice, not by force, not by suppression, but by replacement. If the voice says, "I am small," you gently replace it with, "I am great." If the voice says, "I am behind," you replace it with, "I am ahead." If the voice says, "They are better," you say, "I am the best." And you do this not once, not occasionally, but consistently, until the new word takes root and becomes your natural speech. Do not underestimate this practice. It may seem simple, but it is the key to all transformation. For what you consistently speak within becomes the word made flesh. It takes on form in your world. You cannot hide your inner conversation. It will eventually reveal itself in your outer life. Many of you here tonight may feel as though life has spoken against you. You may recall failures, disappointments, humiliations, and you say, "This is who I am one who falls short." But I tell you, no, that is not who you are. That is only the echo of past inner talk. And if tonight you choose a new word, if tonight you declare within yourself, "I am victorious, I am chosen, I am the best in my field," then the echo must change. It may not change in the next hour, but it must change in time, for the outer cannot resist the inner forever. Think of it like planting a seed. If you plant a seed of oak, do you expect a thorn bush to grow? No, you expect an oak. And if you plant the seed of greatness in your inner conversation, why do you doubt that greatness will appear in your outer life? It cannot fail, for the seed determines the harvest. So let us practice now, right where you are, in the silence of your mind. Begin to hear yourself as the best. See yourself receiving recognition. Hear others speaking well of you. Hear yourself responding with confidence. Do not wait for me to give you words. Let your own imagination furnish them. And when you hear that inner voice saying, "But what if it is not true?" answer it with this: "It is true because I say it is true, for you are the author of your destiny, and your word is." When you leave this place tonight, the outer world will try to tempt you. It will show you evidence that contradicts your new assumption. But you must remember, the world you see now is yesterday's inner talk. Do not judge by the harvest you see today. Judge by the seed you plant now. If you persist in the new inner word, tomorrow must bring the proof of it. There is no power outside you greater than the voice within you. No man, no woman, no system, no government has the final say in your destiny. Only your own inner speech does. If you believe otherwise, you surrender your authority. But if you take hold of this truth, you rise above every condition. So from this night on, walk with a new companion. Let your inner voice be your ally, not your enemy. Let it speak of greatness, not failure. Let it sing of victory, not defeat. And let it constantly remind you, you are the best. You are chosen. You are more than enough. And as surely as the sun rises, the world will one day look at you and wonder, How did it happen? And you will know it happened because you changed the conversation. It happened because you dared to speak differently to yourself. It happened because you claimed with your inner word what was yours from the beginning. That, my friends, is the secret of the inner voice that shapes your world. Guard it well, for it is the very hand that writes the script of your life. 7. The law of inner speech. My friends, let us now enter into a truth so powerful, so close to you that you often overlook it. I speak of your inner conversations, the constant dialogue you hold within yourself. Every man and woman here speaks all day long, not always with their lips, but certainly within their own mind. And I tell you tonight, it is these silent words that form the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between your imagination and your experience. You may think of your inner speech as harmless musings, as idle chatter, but I assure you, nothing is idle in the creative mind of man. Every word you rehearse inwardly is a seed planted in the soil of consciousness, and the harvest must come. If you would act as though you are the best, if you would truly embody the knowing that no one is greater than you, then you must first watch the words you speak within yourself. How do you talk to yourself when no one else is listening? Do you build yourself up, or do you tear yourself down? Do you imagine conversations where you are honored, respected, loved, or do you indulge in dialogues where you are dismissed, overlooked, and rejected? For what you say in the silence of your mind will echo in the hall of your world. You may recall times when you rehearsed an argument in your imagination. You played the role of yourself and the other. And as you did, emotions stirred. Days later, perhaps the very quarrel unfolded before you, just as you had rehearsed it. That is the law of inner speech. It creates reality. It is the unseen playwright writing the script of your days. Therefore, to act as though you are the best, begin here. Let your inner words be words of victory. When you walk into a room in imagination, hear others speaking of your greatness. When you prepare for a task, whisper within yourself, I succeed because success is mine by right. Do not allow the inner voice to accuse or belittle. That voice is your servant, and you are its master. Train it as you would a child, patiently and firmly until it speaks only in harmony with the image of yourself that you desire to express. I tell you, your inner speech reveals your true beliefs. A man may say aloud that he has faith, but if within he rehearses failure, he betrays himself. Outward words are often for show, but inward words are the raw expression of belief. Watch them, guard them, direct them, for they are the currents that carry you to your destiny. Let me share an example. A man once told me he longed for promotion in his work, yet he continually imagined conversations where his employer overlooked him, where others were chosen before him. He would argue in silence about the unfairness of it all. And so, though he worked hard, his life repeated his inner speech. Others advanced while he remained where he was. When he learned to change the dialogue within, when he began to imagine his employer congratulating him, his peers admiring him, his own voice saying, I am recognized because I am the best. Within weeks, the outward scene shifted to match the inward play. This is the law. What you whisper in the ear of your own soul, your world will shout back to you. Now some may ask, but is this not pride, to walk as though no one is greater than I? I say to you, it is not pride, it is truth. For there is only one being in the universe expressing itself in countless forms, and that being is your own wonderful human imagination. When you affirm your own greatness, you affirm the greatness of the one in all. You are not diminishing another, you are exalting the self that is God in you. So tonight, begin to listen differently. Catch yourself in the act of inner conversation. If you find yourself speaking as the defeated, stop at once and redirect the play. Replace the word of failure with the word of triumph. If you imagine a scene of rejection, tear it down and build instead the scene of acceptance. For imagination is not a shadow, it is the substance of reality. As you persist, you will find the strangest thing occurs. Your inner voice becomes alive, as though it were a trusted companion. It will speak back to you in words of encouragement. You will feel as though you have a friend walking with you saying, yes, you are the best. Yes, you cannot fail. And in truth it is so, for you have trained your mind to echo the word of God, which declares all things are possible to him who believes. So let me leave you with this challenge tonight. For the next day, watch carefully every word you utter within. If you catch yourself in complaint, in self-pity and envy, stop and reverse it at once. Speak instead as one who already has what he desires. Whisper to yourself words of greatness. For the inner word, like a seed, will grow, And soon the world will play back to you the very lines you first rehearsed in silence. Act then as though you are the best, not only in your deeds, not only in your outward bearing, but in the secret theater of the mind. Let your inner speech be the speech of kings and queens, of masters and victors, and I promise you the world will rise to confirm it. For as you think in your heart, so are you, and as you speak in the silence, so shall you live in the world. 8. The power of assumption. My friends, we now arrive at one of the greatest truths ever entrusted to man, the law of assumption. If you would live as the best, if you would walk as though none is greater than you, then you must assume it. You must dare to claim within yourself that which the outer world has not yet shown you. For assumption is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, between what is desired and what is lived. You may say, but how can I assume what is not true? And I tell you, assumption persisted in hardens into fact. The world you now see is nothing but the solidified residue of assumptions once held, assumptions so familiar to you that you no longer recognize them as the creative act. You assume lack, and lack appears. You assume delay, and delay stretches before you. But if you would assume greatness, greatness must clothe itself in flesh and circumstance. Let me put it plainly. To assume is to accept a thing as real before it is visible. It is to say within yourself, this is so, though no eye has yet seen it, no ear has yet heard it. It is to live in the end rather than in the struggle. You do not wait for proof. You provide the proof in imagination by assuming the state as though it were already accomplished. When a man assumes he is the best, when he wears the feeling of superiority as naturally as a coat upon his back, the world bends to acknowledge it. Others begin to treat him as he treats himself. Doors open where before there were walls, because the outer world is only a mirror, faithfully reflecting the inner assumption. Do not confuse assumption with wishing. Wishing is weak. It says, I hope one day this will be. Assumption is bold. It declares, I, and the universe, knowing no difference between the seen and the unseen, between the real and the imagined, responds in kind. Consider this. If tonight you went to bed assuming that you are already the man or woman you long to be, if you felt the thrill of accomplishment as you lay upon your pillow, then though the morning may find you in the same room, with the same possessions, something has shifted. For you have planted the seed of a new state, and life must rearrange itself to bring forth its fruit. I once knew a man who desired wealth. For years he hoped, he prayed, but he also confessed constantly, I am poor, life is unfair, others are favored but not I. His assumption was poverty, and life gave him poverty, faithfully and without error. When he was taught the law of assumption, he dared at last to change his inner speech. Each night before sleep, he would say within himself, I am wealthy, I live in abundance, my days overflow with prosperity. He assumed it so vividly that he began to feel it. Within months, opportunities appeared, investments, partnerships, doors he had never seen before, and the man who once confessed lack now lives in plenty. Did the world change first? He changed first, by assumption, and the world, being only a shadow of his inner state, followed after. So I ask you tonight, what are you assuming? Not what you hope, not what you say aloud, but what do you secretly accept as true? Do you assume that you are overlooked, that others are more talented, that success comes to someone else? Then life must echo that assumption. But if you dare, even this very hour, to assume that you are the best, that you are favored, that you are chosen, then life must echo that as well. Now let us make this practical. The law of assumption is not vague, it is specific. Take your desire and bring it into sharp focus. Do not say, I want success. Instead ask, what would it feel like right now if I were already successful? What would my friends say to me? How would I walk? How would I speak? Then assume it. Carry yourself in imagination as though it were done. Hear the voices congratulating you. See the look of admiration in their eyes. Feel the satisfaction in your chest. That assumption, lived inwardly, will clothe itself outwardly in due season. But I warn you, assumption requires persistence. One night of imagining will not undo years of contrary belief. You must dwell in the state until it feels natural, until you no longer reach for it but rest in it. Then the world cannot help but mirror your inner rest. Let us take an example closer to the heart. Suppose you long for love. Many say, I will be happy when I find the right partner. But that is to assume lack. That is to declare, I am incomplete, and life must echo it, leaving you waiting, searching, yearning. Instead, if you dare to assume, I am already loved, I am already cherished, I am already the joy of another's life, and if you feel it so vividly that it warms your heart, then soon the outer world will reveal the form of that assumption. Someone will step into your life and act out the role you have already given them. In imagination, the law does not fail, it cannot fail. For assumption is the creative act itself. And so to act as though no one is greater than you, begin by assuming it. Inwardly declare, I am equal to the greatest. I am the embodiment of power, of wisdom, of beauty. I walk as the chosen of God, because God and I are one. Do not wait for others to tell you this. They cannot until you first assume it. Life is but your own assumption objectified. I tell you the secret is not to fight circumstances, not to struggle against appearances, but to change your assumption. For appearances are the fruit. Assumption is the root. Tend the root, and the fruit must change of itself. So tonight I invite you to put this law into practice. Choose one desire, something close to your heart. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if it were already mine? Then close your eyes and live in that end. Assume it as though it were real. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not say, one day. Say, now I am. And hold it until it takes root within you. For when you dare to assume the highest, when you dare to walk in imagination as the best, life itself will bow to your assumption. The world is your mirror, and as you assume, so shall you see. 9. Persisting in the assumed state. My friends, tonight we come to a truth so simple, yet so profoundly misunderstood. It is not enough to assume once, and it is not enough to assume briefly. To act as though you are the best, to live in the certainty that no one surpasses you, you must persist. Persistence is the secret that transforms assumption into fact, imagination into reality, inner conviction into outward expression. You see, many people assume and then quickly return to the old habits of thought. They imagine themselves as wealthy, powerful, or admired, and then the world whispers its contradictions. The senses cry, you are not yet there. Look at your bank account. Look at your position. Look at your circumstances. And they falter. They allow the outer world, which is only a reflection of the past, to outweigh the unseen, which is the living creative power. They abandon the assumed state too soon, and the promise fades. But persistence is different. Persistence is to continue in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, though the world shows no evidence. Persistence is to repeat the inner act until it becomes the natural garment of your consciousness. You do not retreat. You do not negotiate. You do not debate. You assume and you hold it. And I tell you, when you do this, the unseen world cannot refuse to conform. Let us consider the law itself. There is a simple principle at work. What you hold in imagination and feeling must manifest in form. The world is obedient to your inner state, but it requires consistency. One night of imagining, 1 hour of feeling, one fleeting day of conviction cannot override the years of habitual belief. But when you persist, when you remain faithful to the assumed state, the law answers without fail. Think of the sculptor at his marble. He does not strike once and expect a statue. He strikes again and again and again, shaping, refining, revealing the image within. Each blow, each careful movement is persistence. And so it is with your imagination. Each moment spent dwelling in the assumed state is a blow of creation, shaping the invisible into visible form. Now I ask you, how do you persist? The secret lies in attention and feeling. You must attend to the inner state, guarding it from doubt and distraction. When fear rises, return to the feeling of victory. When impatience cries, return to the joy of fulfillment. When reason whispers impossibility, return to the certainty that the unseen is the truth, and the seen is only a shadow. Let the feeling of the end, the state of having already achieved, saturate your consciousness until it becomes second nature. Persistence also requires patience. You may assume tonight, and the world may not shift tomorrow. But the law is not defeated by delay. Delay is only the resistance of old beliefs, clinging to visibility. You do not give power to delay. You hold the inner state as though it were already real, and gradually, inevitably, the outer world must follow. Consider the great composers, the inventors, the leaders, and the masters. Did they see immediate evidence of their visions? No, they persisted in the unseen, in the imagined end, until life conformed to their inner act. Edison imagined the light, law before it shone in the lamp. Beethoven heard the symphony in silence before the first note was struck. And when they persisted in that inner state, the world could no longer resist, and the reality manifested. Persistence is also tested by circumstance. You may face obstacles, people who doubt you, situations that appear to contradict your assumption. But I tell you tonight, do not be moved. The world reflects yesterday's thoughts. It cannot contradict today's act of imagination. Remain steadfast. Return to the inner scene. Repeat it. Feel it. Let it become your daily companion, your constant conversation, your unquestioned truth. Some of you may struggle with skepticism. You may think, how can I act as the best when so many seem greater than I? Remember this. The world outside has no authority over your imagination. It is only a mirror. The truth of your being, the reality of your assumption, is eternal and powerful. The one who persists in this truth will find that the world cannot resist reflecting it. Let me give you a practical exercise. Tonight before you sleep, close your eyes and see yourself as the one you desire to be. Hear the words of praise. See the scenes of accomplishment. Feel the inner satisfaction. Repeat this act with vividness and feeling. In the morning, remind yourself again, even for a few moments, of that inner reality. Continue this day after day. Let persistence become a habit. Let your consciousness be so saturated with the assumed state that doubt cannot enter. Persistence also strengthens faith. As you remain in the assumed state, your conviction deepens. The mind stops questioning, the heart stops trembling, and the inner self knows the truth. What you hold inwardly must manifest outwardly. This faith is not blind. It is the knowledge born of repeated experience, the knowledge that the law never fails when rightly applied. And as you persist, watch the subtle shifts. Opportunities will appear, doors will open, people will respond differently. The outer world will begin to bow to the inner act, and soon, what you imagined with persistence will be as visible as the sun in the sky. Persistence, my friends, is the difference between fleeting desire and accomplished reality. It is the difference between one who dreams and one who acts in the unseen until the dream becomes flesh. To act as the best, to live as though no one surpasses you, is to persist in that state until the world must reflect it. So tonight, let this be your resolve. Guard your inner speech. Assume the state of your desire. Repeat it. Dwell in it. Let nothing disturb. Persist with joy, with confidence, with unwavering faith. And I promise you the law will not fail. What you persistently assume, you will inevitably express. Remember this always. It is not the world that makes you the best. It is the persistent act of assuming within that elevates you. Hold the inner word, and the world cannot refuse. Persist, and you shall see the fruit of your imagination in the field of reality. 10. Living as the best fully manifested. My friends, we have come now to the culmination of all you have learned, all you have heard, all you have imagined. Tonight I speak to you of the final truth, the truth that transforms imagination into reality, assumption into living experience. The truth of living as the best fully manifested. This is the state for which all previous lessons have prepared you. This is the moment when the inner act of knowing and feeling flows seamlessly into the outer expression of your life. To live as the best is not to compare, not to compete, not to measure yourself against another. It is to occupy the fullness of your own being, the majesty of your own consciousness, the eternal right that you and you alone have to walk as a divine expression of life. It is the natural state of one who has assumed the end and persisted in the assumption until the unseen has become the seen. Let me remind you of a great secret. The outer world, with all its appearances, is simply the reflection of your inner state. To act as the best, therefore, you must first establish yourself within. You must know, in the quiet chambers of your mind, in the depth of your feeling, that you are the best. Then and only then will the world bow to your truth. Many stumble at this point, believing that once the assumption is made, all is done. But the world is a reflection that requires your full presence. You must embody the state in every action, every word, every thought. You must move, speak, and respond as one who is already the pinnacle of excellence. Your posture, your gaze, your tone, all must bear witness to the inner reality you have cultivated. For if your outer behavior contradicts your inner state, the law of life hesitates and manifestation is delayed. Alignment is required. Living as the best demands a constant awareness of your inner world. You must not allow the outer world with its distractions and contradictions to pull you into old states of doubt and limitation. You must carry the inner kingdom within you as a constant companion, unseen yet unshakable, guiding your every action, This is the mastery of self, to remain unmoved by appearances and steadfast in the reality you have assumed. Consider the true masters of any field. They do not stumble at every obstacle, nor are they tossed about by opinion, circumstance, or judgment. They move with purpose, with the certainty of one who knows that the inner state determines all outer conditions. Their greatness is not conferred by others. It is self-generated, self-affirmed, self-lived. They are the living proof that to assume the end, to persist, and to inhabit the state fully, is to create the world in one's own image. And now you too must see yourself in this light. No one is greater than you, because your inner truth is divine. No one can diminish you, because the world cannot undo the reality of your inner state. You are not better in arrogance. You are better in truth. You are the embodiment of the power that created the universe, the reflection of the infinite, and the expression of life in its fullest form. Living as the best is also a matter of joy and gratitude. The one who knows they are the best is never bitter, never envious, never fearful. They have no need to tear another down to elevate themselves. Instead, they rejoice in the abundance that flows to all. Their life becomes a celebration, a testimony to the law that what you assume and persist in within is your eternal possession. And how do you maintain this state? By constant practice, by unwavering attention to your inner life, and by the continual rehearsal of the feeling of your fulfilled desire. Each day, in every encounter, imagine the scene completed. Hear the words of affirmation, feel the satisfaction of accomplishment. Let these impressions saturate your consciousness until they are more real than the evidence of the senses. The outer world cannot resist the persistent inner reality. Take this to heart. To live as the best is to be unshakable, unmovable, and utterly faithful to your own imagination. The world may resist, circumstances may press against you, people may doubt, deny, or oppose, but persistence and feeling are your allies. Keep the inner word spoken. Keep the scene alive in imagination. Maintain the assumption with joy, with certainty, with unwavering faith. This is the law. It never fails. Now let us speak of the ultimate reward, the manifestation of your inner state. When you inhabit the end fully, the outer world aligns. Opportunities appear as if by magic. Recognition comes without struggle. Doors open that were previously closed. You move through life with an effortless grace, because your inner kingdom has already prepared the way. You live not as one hoping, but as one already fulfilled. And let this be clear. You are not acting for the applause of others. The evidence is secondary. The primary reality is the inner state, the divine assumption, the knowing of your own perfection. The outer world is but a confirmation, a mirror, a reflection of what you have already established. Do not depend on it to validate you. Instead, let it echo what you have already claimed. As you step from this lecture into your daily life, remember this: the world must bow to the persistent assumption of the mind and heart. Live as the best, not occasionally, not when convenient, but as the natural expression of your being. Speak the words, feel the feelings, see the scenes, act with the confidence, and the world will respond. This is your divine right. This is the law at work. This is the fulfillment of your imagination made real. Tonight I charge you with this practice. Assume the end, persist in the state, and embody the best in every action. Let no circumstance, no opinion, no outer evidence sway you from the inner reality. Live from the end as though all is already accomplished, and you shall see beyond question that your life unfolds in harmony with your highest assumption. And so, my friends, go forth with courage, with certainty, with joy. Walk as the best, speak as the best, think as the best. For the kingdom of your imagination, the reality of your inner state, is now the substance of your life. Persist, and life will confirm it. Live fully, unshakably, gloriously as the best. You have the power, you have the law, you have the right. Live it, breathe it, know it, and the world will reflect back to you the perfection that has always been yours.